If you've been wondering what scales you need to know for bluegrass, flat pick, and lead guitar, today I'm going to show you some patterns that are going to open up the fretboard for you and get you dominating the neck like a bluegrass pro. Alright, stick around. Hey there, it's Aaron Jackson coming to you today, and what I want to show you are a series of blues scale patterns that, if you'll practice them in the way that I'm going to show you, will really start to sound like bluegrass. And if you'll learn these patterns in addition to learning this vocabulary-based approach that I teach on this channel so much, and when I say vocabulary-based approach, I mean learning phrases, licks, note-for-note solos from the great bluegrass players. If you'll learn these scales in addition to that, you'll start to be able to see where they're pulling from, where they're pulling their ideas from. You'll start to get a much clearer picture for how the greats of this style have come up with their classic leads, and you can use these ideas in your own playing. Now, before I get started, I did want to say this. I could make this video a 2-hour master class easily. There's just so many different things that you can do with these scale patterns, but just for today, I just want to give you the basic G major and G minor blues scale patterns that I think a lot of bluegrass lead is kind of based around. I'll almost definitely do a part 2 and probably a part 3 around these kind of blues scales for bluegrass. But today's lesson will be the most important because we're going to learn the patterns that we're going to use over and over and over again. So down below in the video description, I'll have the tabs for these scale patterns for you. And I've also got a couple of little backing tracks that you can use to practice these scale patterns along with. So these are going to be a series of blues scale patterns that I want to show you today. And all a blues scale is, it's a pentatonic scale with an extra note. So let's take this like classic A minor pentatonic scale. I think every player has learned that pattern at some point. And all we're going to do to make that a blues scale is add one extra note right here. And then as we go up the octave, so that's the only difference. Now, doing it on that one pattern is actually not that challenging. Where it does get challenging is where we expand and we learn the 5 patterns that are available to us with the pentatonic scale, because now those patterns are going to change up a little bit. Now, one thing I would recommend, if you don't already know your 5 pentatonic scale patterns and know them well and can play them in any major or minor key, I would really recommend, down in the video description, I've got a link to my Guitar Scales Fundamentals mini course. And it's a very short, very no BS, kind of straight to the brass tacks of how to learn those scale patterns, how to move them around, and how to play them in any major or minor key. So if you're unfamiliar with your pentatonic scales, I would recommend actually going through and getting those down first and then coming back to this lesson. But if you've got those down pretty well and you want to jump into some scale patterns that are really going to work for bluegrass, this lesson is going to be perfect for you. So what I want to do is, again, we're going to do blues scale patterns, but I'm going to do a major blues scale pattern, not a minor one to start off with. We're going to do a G major blues scale pattern. And that's going to be this down here. We're going to do... Okay, one more time. Okay, so that's the one that we're going to start off with right there. Okay, so just a couple of classic bluegrass ideas that come straight out of that. The bluegrass run. Straight out of a G major blues scale. How about the little Tony Rice? Straight out of that scale pattern. Billy Strings, Dust in a Baggie. Straight out of that scale pattern right there, okay? But now here's the thing. We don't want to just be confined to those first 3 frets. We want to take the notes that are in that scale pattern and move them all over the guitar neck here. So what I'm going to show you now are 4 more patterns that take those same notes and get you covering the neck here, okay? So that was pattern 1 in our G major blues scale patterns. Let's do pattern 2, and that's going to go like this. Okay, let's do that again here. Okay, now if I was doing my straight pentatonic pattern right there, that would be kind of minor pentatonic pattern too. I don't want to get too deep into it right here, but we have to change it up because we have to throw in that extra note right there, so the pattern has to change up a little bit. So one more time, G major blues scale pattern 2. Okay, now one of the things I would really recommend sticking to are the left-hand fingers that I'm using on these scale patterns, and I will have these notated out on the tabs. Let me throw a little graphic up on the screen right here. What you'll see is up on the treble clef, the treble clef note that corresponds with the tab note below it will have a number next to it. So 1 is for your index finger, 2 is for your middle finger, 3 for your ring, and 4 for your pinky finger. So that's how you'll know what left-hand fingers to use on the tabs, and you can obviously also reference this video. So anyway, that's how to know what left-hand fingers that you're going to be using whenever you're looking at the tabs. So let's now go into G major blues scale pattern 3. That's going to go like this. Okay, so that was G major blues scale pattern 3. Let's do pattern 4 from our G major blues scales, and that's going to go like this. Okay, and then let's jump up and do G major blues scale pattern 5, and that will go like this. Okay, and I'm going to throw in one more here. We're really going to take that first pattern and just play it an octave up, but instead of starting from our G note, I'm going to start from our E, and this is that, you know, very familiar kind of pentatonic blues scale pattern, but I'm way up here on the neck. Okay. So there's 5 patterns there for you, but I went ahead and did kind of that first one an octave up, but starting from the E instead of the G right there. Okay, so now what I want to do here is, as quickly as possible, I want to make these scales sound like music, and where I do primarily bluegrass guitar on this channel, I want to make it sound like bluegrass music. So, like I was saying, down with the tabs, I've got a strum machine backing track that you can practice this along with. So I want to play all of those scale patterns here for you along with that backing track. This is at about 100 beats per minute, and that'll sound like this. Okay, so I hope that's kind of starting to sound a little bit like music there. And the thing about it is, with all of these scale patterns, there's just a whole lot of different musical applications on here, you know. And especially when we come up into this 5th pattern, you know. And learning these 5 patterns is going to help us take the notes out of this kind of first bluegrass scale and cover the neck and not just get stuck down here on these first 3 frets. So that's why I love these scale patterns and I love learning these for bluegrass. All right, so that was the G major blues scale patterns. Now I want to do the G minor blues scale patterns. So these are going to be the same scale pattern, but they're going to look and feel just a little bit different because we're going to be in a different place on the neck. So let's go ahead and start with G minor blues scale pattern 1, and that's going to be this. Okay. So let's come up here now and we'll do G minor blues scale pattern 2. Okay. So now let's come up here and do G minor blues scale pattern 3. Let's come up here and do G minor blues scale pattern 4. Okay, and I'm about to run out of frets right here, so I'm going to take the G minor blues scale pattern 5 down here. So I would have normally started up here, but I'm kind of running out of frets. So instead of playing it on the 13th fret, so I'm going to play it on the 1st fret down here, and we'll do. And then after that, we're back home. Okay, so now I want to play that along with a strum machine backing track, and that'll sound like this. Okay, so when you're playing those minor blues scale patterns along with that backing track, it really brings to mind a lot of like those classic Tony Rice like minor runs like he'll do in Blackberry Blossom. And just other cool ideas like that he played all over the place. Check out the tune Cheyenne from the Bluegrass Album Band, where he actually plays a lot of great G minor ideas. Also, the David Grisman Quintet, the tune EMD is great. Just a lot of those Tony Rice minor runs. He really pulled from a lot of those minor blues scale ideas. So that's what I want you to do with these scale patterns here. Take them as slow as you need to. You can work on your technique, you can work on your timing, and if you'll practice these along with the backing tracks that I've got for you, it'll sound like bluegrass. And if you will practice these in addition to learning that vocabulary-based stuff like the solos, like the Tony Rice solos and the Billy String solos and the Doc Watson solos and all of that kind of good stuff, you'll really start to see where they're pulling from, and you'll see how all of this stuff fits together, and you can use this in your own playing. So remember what I was saying at the beginning of the video here. I'll almost definitely be doing a part 2 and a part 3 for these kind of blues scales for bluegrass ideas that I've been showing you here today. But today's lesson is the most important. You want to get these scale patterns down. You want to play them cleanly. You want to play them in time. And I'd really recommend sticking to the left-hand fingerings that I was showing you today. And again, you'll see that notated out on the tabs on the treble clef right above where the tabbed notes are. So I want to thank you for hanging out today. I really do think that these scale patterns are going to be a great addition to the other bluegrass lead material that you're learning. As always, thank you for hanging out, and I will see you next time.